gasket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second spot, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around, we're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
No back into the fence. They're still beating and banging. And to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Welcome, everyone, to one of the most legendary and unforgiving circuits in all of motorsport, Sebring International Raceway. Tonight, ASRL takes on the historic concrete airfield turned racing battleground, where endurance is everything and mistakes come at a heavy cost. This track is famous for its brutal bumps, low grip surface, and ever-changing conditions as the sun begins to set over Florida. Drivers will be wrestling their machines every lap, managing tire wear, surviving the infamous concrete slabs, and finding rhythm through corners like Sunset Bend, where races can be won or thrown away. Precision, patience, and survival, that's the name of the game here tonight, so buckle up because it's ASRL and this is Sebring, folks. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for staying tuned, everybody. I'm your host, Sagar Boxby. Joining me in the broadcast booth here in Florida is going to be Brian Zinn. Brian, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm excited. We get to crown a champion tonight. Well, at least in Daytona Prototype. Keanu Madero's wrapped it up in GT3, but we still got one title bout that is still undecided.
Looking at the points right now for TWR SJ division, it's pretty tight with Team Watson Racing. Damian Dania just further back from Christopher Hill, but potentially being a no-show tonight. Keon Maduro and Victor Aldrich, mathematically it's secured in GT3s. Taking a look at the schedule, where we've been and what we've been up to, it's been 10 grueling weeks of battling from Daytona to Sebring. The Autodromo Nazionale de Monza, that was the combined circuit, and boy, was that an interesting run of things. But today, we're at Sebring International, of course, a track length of 3.7 miles, or 5.954 kilometers, if we want to get technical with it. It was founded in 1950. The first race was held December 31st. Located in Sebring, Florida, we have 17 corners, 7 to the left, 10 to the right, with only 10 feet of elevation change. Well, it's 3 to 6 in localized areas.
Yeah, and tonight our drivers are located about 90 miles as the crow flies from the Kennedy Space Center, where we celebrate the launch of the Artemis II rocket tonight. Our drivers are going to strap themselves into their own rocket ships and take battle to the bumpiest track on the calendar, as we see Joshua Rutherford heading down into the infamous Sunset Bend, turn 17, where the phrase "respect the bumps" comes into play, as you see the car bouncing over those concrete slabs. Sebring, home to World War II Air Force Base. It's where bomber groups did their training to go off and wage battle in Europe and Japan. As Sagar said, it has since been turned into a world-famous racetrack that has seen many famous drivers from the likes of Mario Andretti to Steve McQueen come and do battle around this legendary road course in Central Florida.
Now let's open up the can of worms, gentlemen and ladies. The argument and discussion point about Sebring has been held time and time again. I'm gonna bring it up early because I want people in the YouTube chat to also have an opportunity to respond. Repave Sebring or keep it as it is? Let us know in the YouTube comments what you think about Sebring and the resurfacing prospects that are proposed year after year, as the drivers favor always keeping it as it is and respecting the bumps. How do you feel about it, Brian?
If they announce that they're going to repave Sebring, I will be first in line with my pitchfork and torch. That's how I feel about it. It literally takes away all of the character of the track. Sebring without the bumpiness is not Sebring to my mind.
I think you're absolutely right. As we said, the precision, patience, and survival aspect of Sebring, it all comes from the bumps and the imperfections that come from this racing surface. I don't think that we would have the same opportunity or the same challenges if it was resurfaced perfectly. Brian D's up into third place as the qualifying session is just about to conclude. Keon Maduro, the last driver on track, currently running in seventh overall, but third in the class, and hopefully he can find a little bit of time. Daniel Miglin, 51 thousandths back from Nitikume in the challenge for P1 in the GT3s. Now, although the GT3 category might mathematically be solidified for P1, big bragging rights are still on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. For Keanu Maduro, who you see on your screen wrapping up his qualifying effort, he's got the championship in the bag. He can celebrate and relax a little bit this evening, but I think given his competitive spirit, he'd like to round out the season with yet another victory to his name. But he's going to have some challenges in front of him as Nitikume sits on provisional pole at the moment in GT3, and the battle for P2 in the championship is still up for grabs.
And things are going to get spicy here at Sebring. Of course, we have, since 1952, the first 12-hour classic being held, quickly established Sebring as America's answer to Le Mans. It became a cornerstone of global endurance racing and helped launch the World Sportscar Championship. And here we have, similarly, our own version of a sports car championship. Let's go through the 10-car lineup here. It's Christopher Hill, Brian Dees line the first row, James Watson, Travis Fleming, with Nitikume finishing off the third row, with Daniel Miglin there. Keon Maduro, Victor Aldrich, Corey Rutherford, and Ty Marasco. And Joshua Rutherford in P11 will finish us out. Brian, any predictions for the night as Christopher Hill will lead us in the prototype category, or the C7 category, as I should say, with Brian Dees in P2, James Watson and Travis Fleming? Who do you think is going to take the win here tonight?
It would be easy to say that it's Christopher Hill's race to lose, but James Watson has shown brilliance several times throughout the season, so I would not count him out, even though he's starting down at P3, but he's going to line up right behind Christopher Hill. So I would look for James Watson to be on the move to try and end the season with a sprint victory to his name. And in GT3, I'm keeping my eye on 4th and 5th place between Victor Aldrich and Corey Rutherford. Those two are still in competition to see who comes in second behind Maduro in the championship standings. They've got it all to play for tonight, and they're lining up right next to each other as well. And both of them have shown that they can be equal pace several times this season. So around here, it's who can keep the car clean, who can respect those bumps. Don't turn this into a drinking game. I promise we're going to say respect the bumps quite a lot tonight. But definitely keep an eye on the battle between those two mid-engine V6 rocket ships of the Acura and the Ferrari, respectively. And the other thing I'm going to be looking for is how these drivers handle cold tires in the GT3 class, especially. For anybody that did the 12 Hours of Sebring special event in iRacing knows that there was a lot of several lap 1 cold tire moments that had to be avoided. So you throw cold tires in the mix with a bumpy track, especially in turn 17 and turn 1, and that could be a recipe for extra spiciness here tonight.
Absolutely. And we were talking to Corey right before the broadcast got going and before he hopped into his cockpit about this race and about the cars. And, you know, something we haven't talked about too much is that C7 Daytona Prototype and kind of what it means, right? I mean, it's a 5.5 liter naturally aspirated V8 based on the Corvette racing architecture, but its output of 500 horsepower was regulated and had a 6-speed sequential gearbox rear-wheel drive. And it was known for its strong low-end torque, excellent reliability and endurance racing, leading to its multiple victories in the WeatherTech category.
Yeah, you could argue it's the last of the proper race cars, but definitely a unique point in IMSA's history. Fantastic soundtrack coming out of those exhaust pipes, and just is such a unique car to drive. If you haven't driven it on the iRacing service, I highly recommend it. Definitely hop in and give it a twirl around your favorite racetrack. I guarantee you're going to walk away saying, why don't we have a series that runs these cars? I would be in complete agreement with you.
Oh, 100%. The only wish I had, I guess, is that we had the left-hand drive versions. That's the only thing that drives me nuts about these cars. That we are
it just gives you
drive.
Prepared to drive the LMP3 car.
Fair enough. Fair enough. On the gearbox now of the leader, Christopher Hill, looking back at the man in the highlighter colors. That'll be Christopher Hill for Team Watson Racing. Oh, excuse me. We are on board with Christopher Hill. James Watson from Watson Racing, of course.
Yeah, the man in the highlighter yellow Corvette Daytona Prototype will be looking to turn in his own highlight reel of the race and end up on the top step in both races, but he'll start with his pursuit of a sprint race victory tonight as they make their way down the Ullman straightaway into that infamous or famous turn 17, depending on your affinity for the corner. Looks like we're going to be going into sunset as well, so those drivers are going to have to contend with that bright sunshine setting in the distance. Ergo why it's called Sunset Bend. So our drivers follow the iRacing pace car around, and we get ready to go green for one last sprint race this season.
And the pace car comes in, leaving Christopher Hill in charge of the field. And it will be green, green, green for the last time here for ASRL as we run down towards turn 1 here at Sebring, folks. Christopher Hill leads us with Brian Dees trying to go the long way around the outside, but it'll be James Watson there holding down some real estate. That'll be Ty Morosco getting a couple of positions, but Joshua Rutherford in the background spun out. I believe it was, unfortunately.
Yeah, it looks like Indikume also had a turn 1 incident with his Ferrari as he gets things gathered up. Didn't look to collect anybody else, but a little bit of a damaged pride there as he will get back underway and try and run down the pack.
Here comes the 188 of Maduro challenging Miglin for the lead in GT3s. Coming through the Fangio chicane now. It will be tricky. It will be tight. Cutting down into Cunningham corner. On board with Daniel Miglin. You can see the shadow of Maduro just outside of his peripheral view. But now Maduro into the lead, but Miglin challenging back as much as possible. Driving that Acura to victory lane is his only priority.
Yeah, Acura is sitting second and third with Victor Aldrich ahead of Corey Rutherford. That has championship implications at the moment, as if that holds true tonight, then Aldrich will come home P2 in the championship. As we see Ty Marasco in the background, it looks like he might have got turned around by Rutherford in the Corvette. We'll have to see if we can get a replay of that to see if he did that on his own or got some assistance.
Oh, it was just a tank slapper from what it looked like, unassisted.
My apologies to Rutherford, he had no part in that. As Marasco just had a disagreement with the curbs, and Mustang said, I've had enough, I'm going to give him traction on the back end.
And I have cold
Aldrich
tires.
Cold tires, I called it. But those not having cold tires at the moment, but might be sweating a cold sweat, is Victor Aldrich, as he's got his mirrors full of that purple haze Ferrari. Corey Rutherford behind him. And Corey's got his family mate of Joshua Rutherford looming behind him as well. Don't want any entanglements and make for an awkward family dinner. And they'll give each other plenty of room there.
Good clean
Corey, on the
pass
other
to
hand-
Green Bend, but now stuck up the inside with a family member is not where you want to be at the hairpin turn, is it, Brian?
I just said, don't make family dinner awkward, and they tried to prove me wrong on that one as well. But made it through, no harm, no foul. Corey's probably saying, go make it up to me and go make Victor Aldrich's life a living mess at the moment, but no harm, no foul there as Rutherford gets by Aldrich. And they can look to resume their battle in GT3.
As you called very expertly, Victor Aldrich and Corey Rutherford were going to be battling on track, and so they are. The 5 glued to the rear wing of the 88, only separated by 3/4 of a second right now, but I expect Corey Rutherford to unleash the beast, as it were, and catch up to Aldrich very quickly now. Christopher Hill pulls out the last lap, best lap, 154.53 that last time around.
Yeah, and even though our drivers won't have to make a pit stop in the sprint race, these tires will get abused around here. Sebring is a very abrasive track for tires, even in a 2-minute sprint race. So those that can preserve their tires best, especially in the feature race that we have upcoming, will pay dividends in the end. But right now, Corey Rutherford is not too worried about his tires. He's just worried about trying to get around that Acura in front of him, and then set his sights to go run down the other Acura of Daniel Miglin, as Miglin has fallen about 1.1 seconds back of Maduro. Maduro doing what he's done all season long, Mr. Consistency in that GT3 Mustang. As Joshua Rutherford finally makes his way around the last of the GT3 cars and sets off into the distance.
Yes, he does. Now, back to the Rutherford-Victor Aldrich battle. There's similar rating in iRating as well. Like I said, we were talking to Rutherford before the broadcast, and you know, it's not really something that you have to do is chase an iRating number, right? It's not something you have to do to run officials all the time, and iRating isn't everything. Definitely not the only indicator of skill, pace, inconsistency on the racetrack. And like we were talking with Rutherford, some of the most enjoyable races I've ever been in have been multi-class racing, and some of these races have have been some of the most enjoyable that I've broadcast as well.
Yeah, I can attest that iRacing does not equate to any sort of standard of driving. Unfortunately, you would think that the higher strength of field races with the higher iRating guys would mean it'd be cleaner, more fair, more respectful. But unfortunately, egos start to re-enter the picture at a certain level and kind of take over and dominate the conversation as well. So definitely not about the number, just finding a car in a series that you really enjoy driving and that you can be around a community of fellow drivers. You start recognizing some names after a while, and you start building up a rapport, and you just enjoy things in a different manner. So 100% agree. The number's just a number. No reason to be fixated on it whatsoever. I've learned that the hard way. I'll put it that way.
Couldn't have put it better myself, Brian, because finding that community of people that you get along with, have a good time with, and be able to express your passions is really the most important thing. And here at ASRL with Purple Haze Autosport, the gentlemen here have been able to find exactly what they've been looking for.
Absolutely. We've had a championship battle that's gone down to the wire in GT3 and Daytona Prototype in two cars that on the surface you think might be a little bit of oil and water, but it's been fantastic racing to call this season, and we get to do it one more time at the beautiful Sebring International Raceway heading into the sunset hours. And we've got some beautiful cars on track as well. We've talked about it races before. These guys are absolutely killing the livery game. Unfortunately, speaking of things getting killed, it would be Ty Marasco picking up a black flag for incidents. If I were to ration a guess, as he has not visited pit lane yet, but he will have to clear that black flag.
Unfortunate result there.
Absolutely, but this battle is a little bit of a stalemate at the moment, a little bit of give and take between Aldrich and Rutherford. As you'll see Rutherford close in one sector, and Aldrich is able to gain that time back in another sector. So that's what we love to watch in racing. Two equally matched competitors going toe-to-toe, move for move. As you see Rutherford throw it in really deep into turn one, made up a bunch of time on Aldrich in front. He's feeling really confident in that car. Makes me wish we could pull up a graphic like the IMSA broadcast had for the real life 12 hours when they called the turn one the Sebring Send, and they measured how aggressively drivers were going into turn one. That was a fun graphic to see, especially in qualifying, and I would have to say Corey Rutherford is leading the top of that table at the moment with that move that he just did there. As he closes up really closely in the brake zone for the hairpin there, but Aldrich gets the better of him on the exit and pulls that time right back.
It really is going Corey Rutherford's way, under braking mostly. It just seems like he has that confidence to be able to pull it out lap after lap, and it's just surprising to see. You can see the lap time deltas there as Rutherford 0.6 faster on that previous lap. And watch out, Nidek Kume is there working in the wing, and he was 1.5 faster than the duo we're watching right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And if these two start getting side by side, it's going to allow Kume to close right up on these two and make this a three-car battle very quickly. But looking at the differences between the two, as we see Aldrich run wide there, exiting Le Mans, that's going to give Rutherford the run. He's going to draw side by side as they make their way down the Ullman straightaway into turn 17 here. Rutherford's got the car ahead of him. Gets it really close to the inside wall there, but that's going to put him on an outside line, and Aldrich is going to take that position right back. Not sure if that was just a single screen moment for Corey there, or just wanted to make sure he gave absolutely the most amount of room that he could to make sure there was no entanglement in this championship battle, which kudos to him, hats off for that move there. But unfortunately it loses the spot back. Aldrich says, thank you very much, I will take P3 back. But What I was going to say is these cars make their pace in very different ways. The Ferrari has very direct, very heavy steering, and is honestly the better of the two cars on the brakes. It took me a minute to figure that out, but arguably the only car that's better in the brakes than the Ferrari is the Aston Martin. I think Corey is demonstrating that perfectly well, as we see just close right up on the back of that 88 Acura in the brake zone for the hairpin there. Just incredible braking performance that Corey Rutherford's putting on tonight.
And the roar right before we come down in towards Cunningham Corner. And there is Nidek Kume all over the rear wing of Corey Rutherford now. As I said, this battle was brewing to be a three-way, and now here it is.
Yeah, Rutherford's kind of in a difficult spot at the moment because he knows he doesn't have the pace for Kume, but he knows giving up the spot to Kume means less points for him, but it might be in his best interest to let Kume go and start harassing Aldrich in front of him and allow potentially a mistake from Aldrich and allow Rutherford to capitalize on it. But we'll see what he does here, as they're going to have a three-car drafting train down the straightaway here as we close in on less than 8 minutes to go in this sprint race. Man, where did the time go in this battle?
Absolutely phenomenal stuff. I mean, when the battles are brewing like this, time keeps on flying by, and so it has. And Corey Rutherford there again taking a defensive looking line, coming through Sunset Bend, and the run down towards the first corner belongs to Victor Aldrich. Up in the lead, it's still Keon Maduro, and a gap of 5 seconds between himself and Daniel Miglin. And then 9 seconds from there, we have the trio battling on screen: Aldrich, Rutherford, and Kume.
Yeah, you're seeing Aldrich bolstered a little bit by the incredible traction of the Acura coming out of some of these corners, especially through the sweeping turn 17 onto the front straightaway, and a little bit exiting turn 1, but all that time gets eaten up in the brakes as Rutherford and Kume both just close up incredibly on the brakes behind the 88. And Kume, he'll probably be getting a little frustrated here. He knows he's faster than both these guys, but he also knows there's a battle in the championship. As I say that, Kume is going to throw it up the inside there. Rutherford's going to give him room. They're side by side. Aldrich is loving this in his mirrors. As Old Station going through Tower. That little bit of jockeying for position allowed Aldrich to stretch the gap out over 0.6 of a second there. But finish what I was saying, Kume is probably going to be getting a little bit frustrated here, but he knows he doesn't want to get entangled with either of these two guys, as he knows they're battling for the final spots on the championship podium here, but he also knows he's got pace in hand and wants to try and make up for that lost ground from that spin in turn 1 on lap 1 as well.
Finds the inside line on Rutherford, who's going a little bit shallow, but does the run still belong to Nidek Kume coming down towards turn 1. He has the outside line. He's going to carry it through the 151 of Kume, advances up into P4.
And while this was going on, looks like Ty Marasco has met himself a disqualification flag for incidents, and he will be taking no further part in this sprint race. He'll look to have a better future race once we get regathered in less than 5 minutes time now.
Corey Rutherford still in tow behind Nidek Kume here. Victor Aldrich sitting on the edge of the podium. Two Ferraris duking it out for the best of the rest now. Ty Marasco no longer with us. It'll leave Keon Maduro as the lonely Ford, but he's out in first place. The 188 still leads, this time by 6.6 seconds and gapping the field. Let's take a look at Victor Aldrich as Nidikume is all over that rear wing.
Yeah, this is what Rutherford's wanting to see, is Kume now hounding the back of the Acura of Aldrich. Hoping that those guys go door to door for a few corners. Now Corey to close in and perhaps pounce on a mistake that either one of these guys make. But so we see Joshua Rutherford's picked up a meatball flag for an incident somewhere. If we have time, we might go take a look at that. But nothing really happening up in the Daytona Prototype class. Everybody's holding stationary with about a 6-second gap between everybody from first through fourth. So we see Rutherford coming down into turn 17 here, throws it in. And just forgot where the brake pedal was. That will certainly give you a meatball flag.
That was a big one, and here's Kume on Aldrich, but importantly enough, here's Rutherford on Aldrich as well. Trying to get the assistance there to get right on through, but unfortunately for Rutherford, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, Kume opened the door there for Rutherford, and he was trying to make his way through, but unfortunately just didn't have the pace through turn one there. Had to settle back behind Aldrich, where he has been for most of this race. And we see Joshua Rutherford has rejoined the track and making life difficult for his brother there. I'm sure we'll have a nice conversation after this one.
Good reminder on screen, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for when Racer Nexus goes live next. The range and categories of which we broadcast is from NASCARs and truck series to road racing and multi-class endurance events, you name it. The Racers Nexus broadcast team has it or will do it. So make sure you like and subscribe to get notifications for when we go live next. And if you're interested in joining any of the leagues that you see broadcasted, well, join us on Discord and get involved in the racing action.
Yeah, Joshua Rutherford finally clears these guys for a second time, but not before giving each of them fits, especially in the brake zone there, as it's allowed all three cars to stack up once again as Aldrich runs way wide exiting turn 17. He couldn't fit a credit card between him and the tire barrier there. That's going to allow Corey Rutherford to draw a level with him, but he's on the wrong side of turn one. He's going to try and hang it around the outside here. Can he make it stick? He makes it stick, but they're still dead even as he finally pulls ahead going into turn three. What a move from Corey Rutherford. That's a championship potential winning move right there.
And definitely patience was a virtue in that overtake as well. I think Rutherford had many opportunities of which he could have licked the stamp and sent it, but waited for a mistake from Aldrich. Now Aldrich doing the same, making a look there at the hairpin, but forcing the mistake from Rutherford. With a little bit of peekaboo there. Rutherford went deep at the hairpin through Fangio chicane. It'll be nose to tail. This time, the 5 leads the 88 Acura.
Yeah, these guys are both feeling the pressure of their championship battle there. A little unforced error on the part of Corey Rutherford. Almost handed the position back to Aldrich, but he was able to gather it up and hold station. And has even started pulling away a little bit now through the second half of this lap, as we're going to close in on white flag. Christopher Hill having taken the white flag, he's working his way through Cunningham on the way down to Tower one last time. He's got a healthy 8-second lead over Brian Dees in second place.
Well, I thought I saw a change in position there.
Well, somebody says a change in bodywork is there's a front bumper or something missing and hanging out in the grass on the left side there. Oh, and there's the reason for that. That's Daniel Minglin that was in the wall back there in turn 17.
Let's take a look at what happened to Miglin here, coming down in towards turn 17, and just loses the rear end, and it looks like he's already missing that rear end.
Yeah, his right rear suspension's caved in as well, so he's had a disagreement with the wall somewhere along the way prior to that. Not sure what has happened to him.
Let's see if we can find out what happened to the Team Watson Racing number 4. There's the incident now, going off track and just backing up into the barrier, dragging that bumper onto the racing track and depositing it there, and then going down in towards Sunset. While we were reviewing that, it was Christopher Hill taking the checkered flag with Brian Dees. James Watson took home 3rd, Travis Fleming in 4th, and Joshua Rutherford will come home in 5th. Keon Maduro here in the GT3s, and a big change up now as Daniel Miglin crashed on the penultimate lap. It's Nidik Kume who challenged for P2. This gives a good haul of points to Corey Rutherford, who now sits on the podium.
Yeah, Rutherford, since getting around Aldrich, has stretched that gap out to 1.2 seconds. That's the biggest gap that these two have had at any point in any particular order, as they've got just 2 corners to go before they see the checkered flag. Rutherford keeps it nice and tidy, exiting Lamar there. He's going to get the draft off his front stablemate of Nidikume in front. Aldrich a little bit too far back to throw it in to try and make a move there, but might be hoping for an unforced error out of Rutherford. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. And Nidikume is going to recover to finish P2, followed by Corey Rutherford in P3 and Victor Aldrich in P4.
There we go. That'll wrap it up for heat number 1. Get those results posted for you. For heat number 1, Christopher Hill, Brian Dees, and James Watson came through P1, 2, and 3. Travis Fleming and Joshua Rutherford coming home in 4th and 5th. For the GT3s, it was Keon Maduro with Nidikume rounding it out 12 seconds back, and Corey Rutherford just in tow. Victor Aldrich and then Daniel Miglin with Ty Marasco having a DNF from the event, unfortunately. Now, with a few moments of warm-up, Brian, what is your takeaway from heat number 1 tonight?
Well, cold tires struck on lap 1. As we saw the unforced spin from Nidikume as he had to put his recovery mode hat on. But one more race to settle the championship in P2 and P3, so we'll have to see if the gloves come off between Aldrich and Rutherford. But I'm expecting those guys to keep it clean, if I'm honest. Definitely great racing out of those two tonight. And we'll see if Christopher Hill can round out his championship season with a feature race win and lock that championship up as well.
Absolutely perfect explanation and highlights from the race. Cold tires struck early, and they struck, well, ice cold, forcing a couple of drivers into recovery drives quick and early in their stints, but making up for it throughout the heat. Now let's talk about a couple keys to the race. I know we've said it before, but I'll have to say it again. Master the bumps and the track surface has to be key number 1. Because Sebring surface is a mix of old concrete and asphalt, the significant bumps in key areas like turn 1, turn 7, and turn 17 really strike the cars aggressively. You can use a softer suspension setup to absorb those bumps to avoid unsettling the car mid-corner, but then you're forced to use mechanical adjustments to balance out the vehicle again. Key number 2, brake smoothly and efficiently. Because most of Sebring's corners require trail braking to carry speed into the apex without losing control, your key braking zones are going to be turn 7, turn 10, and turn 17. You can always optimize your corner exits for speed, like critical corners, turn 6, turn 13, and turn 16. Vital for acceleration onto the Ullman Straight. Those are my keys to the race for the drivers headed into the feature event in just a minute and 30 seconds time. I cannot wait. I'm beaming with excitement tonight as we close things out for the American Sim Racing League on week number 10. Taking a quick look at the weather, it is going to be a beautiful 75 degrees outside. The track temperature, a nice and warm 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't want to fry an egg out there, but it'd be nice to lay out there and soak up some sun. Clear skies out tonight with a little bit of humidity as the sun sets and we head into the golden hour here in Florida. We're going to get our grid pulled up in just a few moments' time, folks, as we get the warm-up session concluded. We're ready to take on the next challenge here at Sebring. With iconic corners named after iconic gentlemen such as the Ullman Straight, Cunningham Corner, the Fangio Chicane, and the Gurney Bend, how can you not love a track like this? Here's your starting lineup for tonight. In reverse order, of course, it'll be Ty Morasco, Daniel Miglin, Victor Aldrich, Corey Rutherford, Nene Kume, Joshua Rutherford, Keon Maduro, Travis Fleming, James Watson, and Brian Dees. Rounding things out, it'll be Christopher Hill from the back of the pack, trying to challenge his way forward.
Yeah, for one final time this season, we'll get the full field in like the Daytona Prototype cycle to the front, so that's going to mess with our time scoring for a lap or two, but we'll get it all straight for you guys as we do one more 40-minute feature race to round out the inaugural season of NSRL.
As the drivers warm up their tires, we're warming up our vocal cords as well for the race action. As we all know, these race starts get a little bit hectic with the reverse grid that we have. So expect some action, expect some door banging, expect trading paints.
I see what you did there.
Thank you. That should be an ad for Trading Paints, don't you think?
Absolutely. Patrick Lindsay should be giving you a commission cut for that one.
25 cents, please, right here.
The fun, unique challenge that our drivers are going to have, as you can see it on your screens right now in that lovely amber tint glowing across the track, they're going to have a bright orange fireball of the sunset in our drivers' eyes, especially going down the back straightaway into turn 17 and down the straightaway that they just finished into the hairpin turn. So look for that to potentially cause some havoc for our drivers into the heavy brake zones of Hairpin and Sunset Bend. Sunset Bend, well, now you know why it's called Sunset Bend, because that's where the sun sets. How many times can I say sunset in a sentence there? I don't know, but our drivers make their way about halfway through the pace lap now. We're going to have Joshua Rutherford. He had a hectic and chaotic race 1. We'll see if he can put it together and have a good race 2. He's going to have some very fast guys behind him that are going to be hungry to end this season with a final victory.
Some would even say, hungry like a wolf.
Great song.
Now Joshua Rutherford is going to control the field here in a few moments. Now he's currently first. Will that last? As we have the likes of Fleming, Dees, Watson, and of course, we would be remiss without mentioning Christopher Hill charging through the field. Barring any mistakes, Christopher Hill usually comes out with the victory. Damian Dania, the challenger to Christopher Hill, unfortunately not here tonight. We wish Damia all the best and hope he was here. Now we're getting ready to take the green flag. The pace car pulls in. Will be up to Rutherford to control the field until we go green, green, green. And now GT3s are diving for position. The GTPs are diving for position as we're nearly going to go 3 wide in towards corner number 1. It's going to get a little bit hectic and chaotic, but it's going to stay green and clean for now until we get a big lockup from D's. I think that takes out Travis Fleming. Yes, it does.
Yeah, it looks like Rutherford might have been involved in that as well. Looks like there was a stack up. That was reminiscent of the 12 Hours of Sebring finale in 2023, I think, between the Wayne Taylor Acura and the 2 Penske Porsches. So it looks like somebody just had a lockup, a couple of lockups there, and Travis Fleming got sent into the tire barriers. Because we've got GT3s intermixed with the Daytona Prototypes now. That's going to create some chaos. But Christopher Hill and James Watson have both scampered off as they look to do battle amongst themselves.
Keon Maduro has found a way up into P3. Oh, just overall in the 188.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? I haven't won one of these overall. Let me see if I can put that on my list of accomplishments for this season. Is Ty Marasco, his bad fortunes from race 1 continue. Looks like he has smacked the ball going into Le Mans there. See our wayward Daytona Prototypes make their way through our GT3 field down into that blazing sunset. God, what a beautiful picture that is. As somebody spears off into the distance. It's Ty Marasco again. We have to ask Corey before, or at the end of this race, did somebody put a challenge out to Ty Marasco to hit every barrier around this track? Is that the season-ending challenge that they have going?
Definitely something going on with Ty tonight. as he has definitely found every single piece of barrier or tire out here at Sebring International Raceway, testing the structural fortitude of those barriers at the very least for his fellow drivers.
I tell you, the spare parts guys at the Ford Hauler are loving him though at the moment. Christopher Hill, he's got his sights set on James Watson, the two yellow machines, one slightly brighter than the other, but in this golden hue, they both the same color as they fight their way through Tower. Watson's going to drop a couple wheels in the dirt there. We're going to have a drag race down into Le Mans. Watson taking the old layout there. So he's going to have himself a slow down penalty that he's going to have to serve.
That's really going to hurt James Watson's charge, but he's going to still be able to hold on to P2 for now with a 10-second gap back to Brian Dees. Here's Maduro getting passed up by Travis Fleming, and hopefully for him, not getting passed as well by Nidek Kume.
And we see in the background Joshua Rutherford making that 3 wide between Aldrich and Rutherford. That was a familiar sight in race 1 as the Rutherford brothers are going to go past Aldrich. Corey's going to have a wide exit out of 17. That's going to allow the 88 to draft up behind and potentially make a move down to the inside heading into turn 1.
Victor Aldrich challenging to the inside line at turn number 2. Again, a little peekaboo moment scared Rutherford into a mistake as he just leaves a little bit more than necessary racing room on that inside line in case Aldrich were to pounce. But it looks like Aldrich isn't going for the attack quite yet. As we go on board with Aldrich, we're immediately blinded by the sun coming down into the hairpin.
Yeah, and kudos to Rutherford. He's leaving maximum room to make sure they don't have a tangle, an accident that dictates this championship. So hats off. That's just fair, respectful racing there from the league admin, but championship contender Corey Rutherford there in his number 5 Ferrari. And also hats off to Aldrich. It very easily could have thrown the car in, put a nose in, forced the issue many times over so far tonight, and he's chosen better of it. So just 2 really respectful, clean racers doing battle there, and you'll really love to see that as Keanu Maduro's got his mirrors full of Nidek Kume, who has had a better start to this feature race than his sprint race, as they both have the Daytona Prototype of, I believe, Joshua Rutherford behind them.
That would be Joshua Rutherford behind. Yes, sir. Pull up the battle box on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. You can see the relative of who's there and who's not. And Rutherford skates on by Maduro here at turn 1. And importantly, Kume and Maduro stay glued to each other, but last lap around, Nidek Kume was quite slow. About 6/10 slower.
Yeah, Maduro having the measure of Kume for the moment. That's been standard procedure so far this season, but Kume is not one to give up without a fight. I expect him to close that gap as quickly as he can. We have twice the distance as we did in the sprint race, so longer time for our drivers to set up and make these passes. But they're going to have light to play a factor as we're going to move from sunset to dusk very shortly here. Nidikume using those fantastic brakes on the Ferrari closes right up to the back of that Mustang, as there's almost nothing between these two cars now.
That was absolutely breathtaking under the brakes how Nidikume was able to close down on the Ford Mustang in front of him and get close enough without touching. Was always the important key to racecraft. And Nidikume definitely has the spatial awareness to know where to put his wheels to make sure he does a nice and clean overtake on Maduro when the time comes, but it's not now, it's not here at Sunset Bend. Maduro and Kume, closest battle on the racetrack with 31:20 left to go in this race. Hill leads the the C7 Daytona Prototype category, with James Watson losing ground 3 seconds there. Brian Dees, a 10-second gap, comes down to around 9.8. Travis Fleming and Joshua Rutherford rounding out all of the participants driving those Coyotes.
Yeah, Christopher Hill, if he's able to win tonight's feature race, will lock up the Daytona Prototype Championship, with Damian not able to make tonight's final round. And in GT3, well, that's Keanu Maduro's championship locked up. He did that last week, but P2 and P3 are still to be settled between Corey Rutherford and Victor Aldrich. As we see, the 64 Joshua Rutherford had entanglement with the barrier there as our GT3 leaders pass him on the side of the road. He's picked up a meatball flag for his troubles there. It looked like the right front had some significant damage.
What about the points for the team championship? It was awfully close there. I'm curious to know if the team championship is still undecided as well, Brian.
I believe it is undecided when I had taken a look at it. Coming into tonight, TWR SJ Division had a 16-point lead over Team Watson Racing, and they in turn had a 32-point gap to Work in Progress Racing for P3 in the team championship. So that championship is not settled as well, as Victor Aldrich and James Watson will be racing for TWR SJ Racing, with Daniel Niglin and Christopher Hill showing for Team Watson Racing. So Hill winning the sprint race, and Aldrich, or sorry, not Aldrich, the other Acura driver of Miglin coming home in P4. We'll see how those points offset.
No, Miglin DNF'd.
Right, but he...
but he still qualifies as fourth in?
No, he might have been fifth. Sorry, he might have been fifth because he was ahead of Marasco, who was the other driver that DNF'd in that race. So
True.
Fifth place points for Miglin in race 1. He's currently sitting in P6. I'm not even sure if Miglin is on track. No, he is not on track.
No, he's not.
Either. So that is going to hurt the Team Watson points, as well as both Victor Aldrich and James Watson are on track for TWR SJ Racing. So that battle is also a close one. I don't know if we will be able to predict a win that one until this race is over with, but Corey Rutherford, speaking to us before tonight's festivities kicked off, said he would try and get us those points ASAP post-race so we could get that coverage to you and let you know who those victors are. But as we're coming up on 27 minutes to go, that sun is blazing away on the horizon in turn 17, and blazing away on the track is this battle for P1 and GT3 between Nidikume and Keanu Maduro. Maduro, he's the GT3 champion, and I'm sure he's thankful that Kume was not here full season, as he has been a thorn in his side every race that he has shown up. having joined the championship, I think about halfway through, if my memory is correct. But these two have been the class of the field in GT3, duking it out week in and week out, usually coming down to who doesn't make the mistake between the two of them. And once again, putting on a classic battle to round out this season.
If you didn't think it was going to be exciting, if you didn't think it was going to be eventful, well, Maduro and Kume have some action on the table ready for us to devour. The battle just rests at half a second between them here on the craziest track in all of North America, Sebring International. Well, the track was actually made of concrete blocks placed for the airfield, which leads to the unsettling of those blocks, or the settlement of those blocks, and the change in settling between one block to the other results in that 3 to 6 feet of elevation change that I talked about earlier. It's quite insane, but the drivers, well, they love it. Here comes Kume down the back stretch. He was faster than Maduro that last lap. And don't forget, we most likely have a pit stop that the drivers will have to take to make it to the checkered flag. We have limited fuel load, so the pit window will be opening up here shortly. That'll obviously shake things up quite a bit. As far as traffic is concerned, it doesn't look like we're going to see much of it. When we raced at Monza, I think we didn't even see lap traffic become a thing.
Yeah, we didn't see traffic really become a factor in the sprint race, and not sure that we'll see it become much of a factor tonight. And I do expect our Daytona Prototype drivers to get to our GT3 field, but everybody's kind of spread out enough that one car coming through every once in a while shouldn't be too much trouble for these GT3 battles we have going on. But right now, closest battle on track is the battle you're watching right now between Nidakume and Keanu Maduro, as night begins to fall at Sebring here. Headlights on, sun setting in the distance. Kume, who was close up behind the Mustang just a few laps ago, has fallen back a little ways, but is slowly starting to close that gap down to about 0.7 of a second. Going into here, he's going to be well within draft range of that Mustang. Mustang punching a big hole in the air with that wide front nose that it's got on it. But using the torque of that 5.4 liter V8 to push through the air and keep the gap at a steady 0.5 of a second before they get to the brake zone for 17. And just like that, that gap that was 1.1 seconds is now down to 0.3 of a second as they make their way down the front straightaway into turn 1. Kume might have backed off for a lap or two to let the tires cool a bit before pushing again. Something that is able to be done with this new tire model on the GT3 cars. We see that gap stretch out just a little bit and then start to close back up in the brake zone. Man, we talked about it in the sprint race, but the Ferrari in the brake zone is just a beast, as we see how quickly Kume can close the gap to the back of Maduro there. Maduro having the better traction out of the corners, but the distance that closes under the brakes is just phenomenal out of these Ferraris tonight.
It is really remarkable, the difference between the cars, and a little tap between Kume to Maduro under braking is how different they are in certain aspects of the track, faster than the other. Obviously, the Ferrari is just more nimble and agile than the front-engined Ford Mustang.
Yeah, and I would be curious to talk to Kume and Maduro after the race to know if either of these guys did the 12 hours of Sebring in these respective cars, or if they perhaps did them in different machinery. But these guys certainly driving like this is the end of the 12 hours of Sebring.
And with 21 minutes and a pit stop left to go, it's still anybody's ball game for who's going to come out on top tonight. The bragging rights are still available and ready to be had for the finale here at Sebring, brought to you by ASRL and presented by the Racers Nexus broadcast channel.
While this battle rages on, I do have to ask a question here. Of the Florida racetracks between Daytona and Sebring, which is your preference to race at?
Sebring, hands down, no questions asked.
I would have to agree with that. After doing the 12 hours, I love Daytona. I love the 24 hours of Daytona, but mastering the challenge that is Sebring is just next level. I would 100% agree with that.
It's something about feeling like it is a challenge to the machine that I'm also driving, that I'm connected to, right? I'm a very mechanically inclined person, and you just have that connection with the vehicle and the tires beneath you, whether you're driving a real car or whether you're in the simulator. And often enough, you just have that connection. And at Sebring, when you know that the vehicle is being punished for every mistake you make, when there's only a few ideal choices to be had, getting that lap perfectly is pure magic. It's like racing at Imola. There's only one true racing line at Imola. And once you get it right and you find it, you feel like you're on top of the world.
Yeah, I have to completely agree with that. Driving at Sebring and becoming one with the car reminds me of the quote from Ford versus Ferrari, as we see Kume is going to close up on the back of Maduro. He's going to use that draft, and we know the brakes on the Ferrari are phenomenal. So he's going to hold station one more time through the hairpin. A little bit of a wiggle there from the back of Maduro's Mustang as he tries to get on the power a little bit quicker. Hold my quote while we watch these guys battle. Kume is going to throw the dummy fake to the inside, try and force a mistake from Maduro in front. Nothing doing there.
As darkness falls, the brake markers fade away. We get our first pit stop call. It will be Joshua Rutherford coming into the pits.
It looks like while we've been focused on this battle, a battle for P2 in Daytona Prototype has been forming as Brian Dees has closed up and forced an error from James Watson there. And he's going to slot his way into P2 for the moment. Watson, though, he's fighting back. He's looking in the inside as they head down into the heavy brake zone for Cunningham. Side by side, they work their way to Tower. And Watson's going to take that spot back in turn tower as he's going to drop a couple wheels in the dirt. And now it's D's turn to try and get that position back.
I don't mean to be that guy, but did you see that Instagram post, Brian, from IMSA WeatherTech, the official channel, where they posted how much dirt was missing at the edge of the curb at the end of the 12 hours?
Oh, absolutely. It looked like a massive trench had been dug out there. It was incredible to see as we see Dees and Watson both make their way down pit lane. But yeah, just after 12 hours of 60 plus cars dipping their wheel in the dirt off the curb there, that was a massive hole that they had created.
It was like a foot deep. It was absolutely insane. And if you got your wheels dipped off during the race, you're cutting a tire down, no questions asked.
Oh, absolutely. The qualifying was amazing to watch. Roxy, who was taking the place of Rexy for that weekend, was literally hooking onto the curbs, and it looked like a slot car, trying to get as much pace out of that car in qualifying on the final flying lap as they could. Just using every millimeter of available real estate that these drivers could. And that's the beauty of Sebring is, you know, it's what drivers would call an old school track. You've got the track, and then you've got grass and dirt and gravel right at track edge, and you know when you've gone off the track, there's no ambiguity of painted lines and wheels over a curb or anything like that you have at a modern Formula One track. So those guys throughout 12 hours used every inch and then some, as the post-race holes would indicate. But our drivers continue making their way to pit lane as Nidikume makes his call to pit road, and Christopher Hill makes his way down pit road as well.
With the pit lane flourishing with drivers Hill, Kume, Aldrich, the question is where is Keon Maduro right now? And the answer is, well, he's coming through turn 17. And Kume, well, he's on his way out right now. So, take a look at the run down towards pit lane. And there comes Kume through. And there's Maduro behind.
Yeah, Kume absolutely nailing his pit stop there, but he's going to run the grass and make a mistake and hand the lead right back to Maduro. And now Corey Rutherford's in this mix as well.
I think he even surprised himself with where he came out. Corey Rutherford having the quickest pit stop of everybody, 14.5 seconds. Absolute phenomenal stuff from him. You can see the deltas there on the timing tower of their pit stop times. Keon Maduro took a surprisingly long 21.1 second stop, while Rutherford with a very short 14.5 stop.
Yeah, Rutherford shown once again that he has been on top of his pit stops in these feature races, having easily the best time out of all of them and making it a boatload of space on the racetrack. He's thrown himself into the conversation for perhaps a victory in GT3 in the final feature race of this season. Hill working his way through this GT3 pack at the moment.
battle for the lead is brewing up here and now in the final 12 minutes of ASRL's Sports Car Championship. Attacking blows, attacking glances, but no pounces yet. Rutherford defends hard but fair from Kume, but it challenges his line. Coming through Lamar onto the Almond Straight, but it'll be a mistake for Nitakume as well.
Yeah, Kume pushing hard, just runs wide eggs into Lamar there. He's going to drop to a second back of Rutherford and Maduro. Rutherford, he is all over the back now, and Maduro is his turn to hassle the 188 Mustang.
On the nose of Rutherford, we can see how close the gap is, under braking between himself and Maduro in that coveted first place spot. Only 9 minutes and 30 seconds remaining on the clock, folks. Will it be Rutherford to take the win in the in the team category, as Keo Maduro has solidified it in the lead? Now, P2 and P3 very much still up for grabs, and trying to figure out what happened to Victor Aldrich.
Yeah, it looks like his last lap around was a 2:04, about 3 seconds off the pace to these three that are battling right here.
But his chances of challenging Rutherford have definitely faded away. Rutherford challenges forward and now has the likes of Maduro and Kume to contend with. And no longer the case, as Rutherford loops it around in the infield, not once, but twice, pushing hard. And it might be P3 for him, or will Aldrich catch up?
Such a devastating mistake for Corey Rutherford there, as he was in the hunt for possibly a win here tonight, but just looked like possibly an unforced error there, and then had his struggles getting the car going again. But fortunately for him, had that huge 20-plus second lead over Victor Aldrich, and so he's going to be able to gather the car up and still hold almost a 9-second gap to Aldrich in P4. But I'm sure for Corey Rutherford, he's got to be kicking himself there.
Absolutely gutting from Rutherford, who was pushing as hard as he possibly could. Now looking at Joshua Rutherford. And unfortunately for Rutherford, he's in 9th overall. Over to the leader, that is Keon Maduro. And Kume now the challenger behind, but he's down 1.5 seconds with just 6 minutes and 40 seconds remaining on the clock. Can it be overcome, Brian?
I'm not sure. I don't think the pace difference is there, but we will see. Anything can happen, especially around a track like Sebring, where you're racing the track as much as you're racing your competitors on that track. But to go back to the point that I was making earlier before the battle got really spicy between Maduro and Kume, Sebring reminds me of a quote from a fantastic racing movie, Ford versus Ferrari, and it's for those that have seen the movie, it's when Ken Miles is sitting out on the runway with his son Peter, and he's talking to Peter about the perfect lap, but I feel like it applies to Sebring as well, and he's saying, if you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to stay together, you have to have a sense of where that limit is. And a track like Sebring really brings that out in a car. You're not just racing the other people on the track, you're racing the track itself. You're racing the bumps, you're racing the dirt and the grass and the curbing. And you have to know where that limit is to be able to get the maximum performance out of your car, and to do that for 12 hours into the darkness, and not darkness like at Daytona where you've got a bunch of floodlights lighting up the whole place, but dark darkness. I mean, the only place darker than this I think that I can think of is Le Mans or the Nordschleife.
Yes.
So to be able to do that just gives Sebring, to me, it puts it into a whole nother tier of endurance racing legendary status for tracks.
Well, you're definitely not wrong about that. It's legendary for multiple reasons. As I said earlier, the 1952 inaugural 12 hours of Sebring. And in 1966, we did have the Ford versus Ferrari American Redemption. Before conquering Le Mans, Ford Motor Company took a crucial victory at Sebring with the legendary Ford GT40. That win proved that Ford could beat Ferrari in endurance racing, and it set the stage for the famous Le Mans dominance later that year. In 1970, the night racing era began, as Sebring became famous for its dramatic day-to-night transitions. In 1970, endurance racing legends like Mario Andretti battled through darkness and mechanical chaos, cementing Sebring's reputation as its test of survival as much as speed. And was that Rutherford spun out again?
Yes, because he is now behind Victor Aldrich.
Get a replay of what happened here. Oh, there's Rutherford spun out again.
Man, what a frustrating end to this feature race for Corey Rutherford. He absolutely nailed his pit stop and was in the mix for a potential victory, and the wheels have just fallen off here in the span of the last 10 minutes or so. We'll have to wait and see if this has any implications for his championship battle with Victor Aldrich for P2 in the standings. Rutherford, if you recall, got the better of Aldrich in the sprint race, but the tables have turned here in the feature race as we have just under 2.5 minutes to go now. We'll have to see if Rutherford can gather himself up and find the pace that he had over Aldrich in the sprint race, and see if he can close up that 1.8 second gap and get himself back-to-back podium finishes to round out the season.
With 2 minutes left to go, Ikume closes down the gap on Maduro. But we all know catching is one thing, passing is a completely different ball game. Will he be able to make an overtake happen in the final stages of this race? As he closes down under braking, we can prove that he has the most nimble car of the duo. But getting on the loud pedal, it'll be the V8 of the Ford Mustang that challenges in a straight line.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Maduro be a fierce defender throughout the season so far, and expect nothing less in the closing couple of minutes here in tonight's race. And for Kume, he's going to look to leverage the better braking in his Ferrari to try and get the nose up the inside into one of the heavy braking zones that we have around Sebring International. But for Maduro, he's going to look to leverage the better traction out of those corners that he seems to have over the Ferrari. So an interesting game of checkers being played at 150 miles an hour around here, as they're going to have Corvette Daytona Prototypes work their way through this battle here. Not sure if that is, I saw the highlighter yellow there, so that must mean it's James Watson working his way through. It's hard to tell at night what car is what.
That will send us on to the last lap.
Last lap of the race, last lap of the season.
And Rutherford with a slow down penalty coming down the Ullman Straight as he was chasing Victor Aldrich down up ahead. The gap was coming down to within a second, but now still holds on to that slowdown. A little clatter with the wall. You can tell he's driving with his heart on his sleeve right now.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got that slowdown clear, and the gap's down to 0.6 of a second with 1 lap to go. We'll have to see if that gap can close. I say that, now it's back up over a second, as there was a slight delay to our timing and scoring there. But for Christopher Hill, he's got no timing and scoring issues to worry about. He's got a handy 30-second lead, and as he exits Sunset one final time this season, he's going to take the checkered flag, not just on the race, but on the championship as well.
Great drive from Hill tonight. Brian Dees will cross the line next in P2. James.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic drive from Dees there to recover from that lap 1 incident and hunt down James Watson and come home in a strong P2.
Yes, sir, indeed. James Watson still battling, this time with Travis Fleming in tow. They might drag this one out to the line. Watson brings home third for TWR SJ Division in front of Travis Fleming from ESGI Motorsports. For the GT3s, Keon Maduro crosses the line in P1. Kume in second. It'll be Rutherford in third. Rutherford in third? No, excuse me, Victor
yet.
Aldrich.
He's closed up on the back to Aldrich, though. That gap's under 0.3 of a second with 1 corner to go. He's going to send whatever he's got. He's at the bumper. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Who's it going to be?
Holy Toledo! 55 thousandths separated Aldrich from Rutherford at the end of the feature race. Holy Toledo!
Man, what a finish to the season for those two. I don't know if there's anything better to sum up how this championship has been all season long. Close battles between everybody, and it ends in a battle at the line less than 500ths of a second between third and fourth, and there's a position in the overall championship to be decided by that margin, just as there was in the race overall result as well.
Christopher Hill led in for 20 laps with Brian Dees for MFRD in second place, James Watson in third place. Travis Fleming came home in fourth with Joshua Rutherford for Team Work in Progress in fifth. Over to the GT3s, it was Maduro, then Nidikume, nearly a second back. Victor Aldrich came home in third in front of Rutherford by just 55 thousandths. Ty Marasco came home in fifth, and Daniel Miglin 20 laps down DNS for this event, unfortunately. Now let's see if we're ready to get the drivers in for their interviews. It looks like we are just about ready. Drivers have gotten out of their cockpits and the celebrations are ready to begin. Let's talk to Keon Maduro first. Brian Zinn, why don't you talk to Maduro first?
Hello.
Yeah, Keanu, you had to fend off a couple of Ferraris that were hungry for the victory tonight. What was your strategy as you had to fend off not just Nidikume, but also Corey Rutherford as well?
And Miglin surprised me as well in the first race. My strategy was just to try and stay consistent and don't make any mistakes and let them make the mistakes. You know, even though I have had the champion or have the championship, the most championship points, I just wanted to, you know, stay consistent, make no mistakes, and it worked tonight.
Absolutely, and with you having wrapped up the championship one race early, were you content to finish where you could finish, or were you trying to finish the season with victories as well?
Because of last week, was it last week Wednesday? What track was that? Can't remember the race track that we won, and I had a bad run last week. I was like, I needed to come out tonight and just, you know, like have a good race and, you know, finish up top. And I didn't want to, I wasn't content because of how last week race went. So I wanted to go out there and prove to myself that I can go out there and run two races back to back and stay focused and stay content and, you know, finish on top.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the GT3 championship this season. Before we let you get out of here to celebrate, any folks you would like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I would like to thank Racing Nexus, you guys, for always broadcasting, Corey Rutherford, Purple Haze Automotive, the guys that come out to race. I want to give a shout out to Brian Dees for winning, you know, the final race of the season, and Nidikume, Miglin for giving me a run for my money, and Corey Rutherford. I said Corey Rutherford already, right?
We'll say Corey twice. That's fine.
I could say Corey twice. All right. Right. Yeah. Also, my wife for putting up with me.
Oh,
Absolutely.
You almost forgot about your wife?
I almost forgot about my
Oh,
wife.
sheesh.
Absolutely. Saving the just tell her you were saving the best for last. That
Yeah.
get the job
Yeah,
done. So.
Except if she's listening, she's gonna know I forgot.
Well, congratulations again, Keon. A fantastic season, and we look forward to seeing you in the next championship.
Right, I look forward to racing there as well. And you guys have a good night as well.
Next up, let's drag into the booth. It will be, it looks like Nidikume is available. We'll talk to Kume, who took home P2 and GT3. I think, well, it's undecided yet, or it's unofficial where you sit in the championship, Kume. But how does it feel to come home with P2 here at Sebring?
It feels great. great, guys. I was looking forward to this race, so I'm glad the results were good for me. It was kind of mixed. I wish they would have, turned out better because I kind of had a chance to chase key on towards the end until the faster cars came through, and I kind of had to live to let them by. But it was a great race overall. Enjoyed it.
It looked like a good race between yourself and Corey Rutherford on track. How did it feel going wheel to wheel for the championship bout?
Oh, that was great as well. Really close, hard racing. I think I was trying not to make contact with him at all. So it was a real sweaty moment for me to kind of focus on, hitting my points and also not make contact with him. But overall, I had the upper hand, and that felt good. But great racing. Big ups to Corey as well for fair racing,
Absolutely. Anybody like to shout out or anybody like to thank tonight, Nide?
I'd like to thank you guys in the booth for, putting on a great show the whole season. Purple Haze Auto Sports for sponsoring the races. I'd like to thank all the drivers for coming out and racing, all the weeks that we've had. It's been great this season. Hope we have, a better turnout next season. And the organizers of the league as well have done great putting this together. So, thanks to you guys. Shout out. And I would say shout out to my friends, family, my wife, as usual. And, it's been great. Thank you guys for a wonderful season.
Thank you very much for showing up and showing out. Kume, have a wonderful night. And as always, make sure you stay safe out there.
Thank you so much. Have a good one, guys.
Next up, Brian, why don't you talk to our Daytona Prototype champion, Christopher Hill?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Christopher. Congratulations on your Daytona Prototype Championship. You had a fantastic season-long battle with Damien, but I'm sure you were relieved a little bit to see that he couldn't make tonight's race. How was your night tonight out there around the bumpy Sebring International Raceway?
I went all right. I wouldn't say I was relieved. I don't like to win from a no-show. You know what I mean? I would have preferred to had a little battle with him or something. Kept it honest and interesting. But so I don't know exactly what happened, but that he didn't show. But obviously last week wasn't the greatest week for the two of us racing each other, and I hope he didn't take it too heavy and from that standpoint. But yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good race tonight. I felt pretty good in the car and was able to put together some, a couple good races, and not much else to say besides that. It was pretty clean and pretty good. So.
Absolutely, and even with Dania not showing tonight, you still had a job to do. So, what was your mentality going into tonight's races?
Well, just try to do the best I can. I mean, just try to put together, a couple clean races. Trying to, I was hoping to try to, maximize whatever points I could get, just to solidify it a little bit more, and got pretty close to doing a clean sweep of what we could get. I think I got a 0. I didn't get a 0x in the second race. Got a 1x there, which was unfortunate, but yeah, I just try to put together a good race, be clean, try to get the best result I could, and I think we kind of were able to pull it off tonight. So
yeah, and speaking of incidents in race 2, talk us through your vantage point of that Shemazel going into turn 3.
Well, I didn't see everything that happened, but it there was a point there where kind of everybody was on the right side coming in, and I think someone must have been a little early on the brakes, or something must have happened there that somebody didn't anticipate, and it cleaned out half the field. Not that the field was too big, but it was about half of it gone in an instant, and then next thing you know, it's just me and James checking out there for a bit. So yeah, got fortunate on that. Could have been just as well mixed up in that if I had been in the wrong spot, but got fortunate I picked the right lane, so to speak.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but for you this season, it's been a bit of both as well. So for the final time, congratulations on your championship. And before we let you get out of here and celebrate, any folks you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, big thanks to James and Team Watson Racing Setup Shop. They've been a big supporter of mine for a while and definitely helping me out. And just good, proud to be part of the team and part of the group, and just a really good group of guys. And not to mention they make some pretty good setups. And so if you guys are anybody's looking for anything along those lines, hit them up. Yeah, I was going to mention Precision Racing Instruction. That's my my coaching company, and so anybody's looking for tune-up in the car, whether it's in the sim or real track, anything along those lines, feel free to reach out. And thanks to everybody for putting it on, and thanks to you guys for broadcasting. And thanks to Damien for a good season. I'm sad it ended with a little bit of carnage and him not showing for the last one, but in general, we had some great races throughout the season, and so I hope if we do in the next season, he shows up and we have another good battle for another championship, and hopefully we keep it cleaner next time, and then we can hopefully have a good, honest finish for both of us. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations again, and hope to see you back for the next season in whatever iteration it takes.
Yeah, for sure. Have a good one, guys.
Take care. Next up, we have Brian Dees. And Dees came home in P2 with a great recovery and overall 4th in the championship. Brian Dees, talk to us about your race.
Yeah, it was a good race. I love this track. I don't know what it is. I've had a lot of success here, though. Always felt good here, like doing the 12 hour. Well, usually doing the 12 hours goes pretty well. This year didn't go so well for us, but last year I think we won the race by like over a lap, and I think I was the fastest car on track. So I don't know, it's just something about this track that just suits me, gets my confidence up. I don't know what it is, but yeah, still didn't have enough for Chris Hill there. He was flying.
Brian and I were talking about how much we love this track ourselves, so you're not alone in that, Brian Dees. It's something unique about this track that just tickles the driver's itch, per se. Now, coming home in P4 overall in the championship, pretty good. Now looking forward to the next one. What do you think about your standings looking forward?
Well, I mean, looking forward to next season, are you referring to?
Yeah, looking forward to next season, and how do you think you'll fare with the same field of drivers and a growing field of drivers?
Yeah, hopefully steadily growing field of drivers. Not sure exactly what we're going to do yet. Me and Corey are going to get together with the other drivers in the league next week and kind of discuss it and figure out the car and everything. I think it depends on the car. I don't think this car really suited me all that well. I'm not the best road racer, probably. I'm more of an oval guy, so that's definitely more my forte. But yeah, definitely looking forward to next season. Looking forward to changing it up, and like you said, hopefully getting some more drivers in here and putting on a show for you guys.
An oval guy and a prototype. That's an interesting combination. Okay, Brian, things I didn't know about you coming into the season. Now I'll have that in my pocket going forward. Anybody you want to shout out, or anybody you want to thank, brother, before we let you go?
Yeah, definitely. First and foremost, got to thank Purple Haze Autosport jumping on board as the title sponsor for the league. Got to thank Corey over at CJR Graphics, and also just want to give a kind of personal shout out and thank you to Corey for running this league and all the hard work he puts into it. I jumped on as an admin last season to kind of help him out, but it's mostly him that puts in all the hard work. I just kind of show up and give my opinion, so that's the easy part. And then definitely got to thank you guys up in the booth at Racer Nexus for jumping on board with us this season. Love going back and watching the broadcast and checking it out. You guys do a great job. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Hats off to you, Brian Dees, and have a wonderful night, brother.
You guys do the same. Thank you much.
Now we do have the official results in. We'll walk you through them. So for the prototypes, what are we looking at? It will be Christopher Hill in P1 with Damian Dania with 327 points, 42 points back. James Watson came home in third. Brian Dees in fourth. Travis Fleming in fifth. Joshua Rutherford in sixth. Brody Gunter in seventh. Dave Seats, Derek Tyndall, Robert Henry, Roman Curdy, Corey Mitchell, Avery Hart, Thomas Crump, J.W. Miller, Jesse Pate, and Robert Monday coming home in 17th. Over to the GT3s as well. Keon Maduro led the charge, and it was a quick 65 points between himself and Corey Rutherford, who came home in second in front of Victor Aldrich by just 2 points. Daniel Miglin in fourth, Nidikume in fifth, Ty Morasco in sixth, Ken Estep in seventh, Mike Hamlin, Jordan Juno, Cole Maxwell, Joshua Moltick, Samuel Bumgarden, Nathaniel Carter, Tommy Cook, Kevin Burrows, Rowan Metz, and Austin Verwee came home in 17th there in the GT3s. Over to the team standings. TWR SJ Division came home in the win with 639 points. Team Watson Racing was just 26 points back. Work in Progress came home in third. MFRD in fourth. Team Fastest Racing in fifth. And ESGI Motorsports in sixth. Brian, with the official results in, what's your takeaway from this championship?
Man, just excellent battles up and down the order from a lot of guys in this championship. Not sure what their experience in league action was coming into this season, but every single one of them demonstrating excellent pace and professionalism out there on the track. And certainly as far as the first seasons go, an excellent showing for ASRL, something that Corey Rutherford should be extremely proud of. And I'm sure they will look to carry this momentum into whatever format Season 2 takes for ASRL. But that's my biggest takeaways. Fantastic action up and down the track in both classes, and I certainly look forward to what's in store for them in Season 2.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Brian, it's been a pleasure to go from green to checker with you for the past 10 rounds. You've been watching live on the Racers Nexus broadcast channel, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for showing up for the American Sim Racing League Week 10. We've had a great time. We've showed up. We've shown out. But man, oh man, the drivers, man, they put on a great show week after week. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Get notifications for when we go live next. For now, we must go. Till next time, have a great night. And as always, stay safe out there. Bye-bye.